Hey, Chris,
Yeah, Fred.
what's a Mason?
That's a really good question, Fred.
You've reached the internet's home for all things masonry. Join Chris and I as we plumb the depths of our ancient craft. From the common gavel to the trowel, nothing is off the table. So grab your tools and let's get to work. This is On the Level. 4,000 downloads? Are you kidding me? Chris?
April Fools?
No.
No?
4,000 downloads. I know that's no way to start a show professionally, but as you people know, Fred and Chris are not professionals. We have
As you well know.
we have 4,000 downloads, guys.
Yeah,
Wow,
today.
I am so impressed. That blows my mind.
Yeah, thank you to everybody
Right?
that's listening. And then we had a fellow craft degree 2 days ago.
Which I sadly missed because I had an issue at home, which we're not going to talk about. Go on.
It's a difficult issue for you to talk about.
Yes,
Okay.
I at this point in my life, I am an animal abuser, but we'll save that for another show.
He's
Go on.
not. He had to give his dog a haircut. So we had a brother from Hillsborough Lodge come to our fellow craft degree.
Okay.
They apparently meet on the same nights we meet, and so he's been trying to get down there for a long time, and it was just awesome because he was there because of the podcast. He wanted to meet you.
I know. And brother,
All he had was me, and it was very disappointing for him.
no, it was not. It was not. It's an honor to meet worshipful Chris Burns. However, to the brother, I'm so sorry, man. I had just the most heartbreaking issue at home. Not the most, but I had a heartbreaking issue at home, which we won't talk about, even though I seem to be determined to talk about it here on the show. But I am coming on the 13th, 18th. I
Yes,
believe the
he will
brother said he'd be
be,
down at Phoenix Lodge
yes,
on
yes.
the 13th or 18th. I will be there.
The 13th. We have a degree on the 18th. They have one on the 13th.
Okay, on
Yeah.
the 13th. I will be there with arms wide open, my brother.
John.
Arms wide
I
open.
believe
John.
His name was John.
John, and if your name isn't John,
It's John.
please keep in mind
John.
that we are not professionals, John.
Yes. Always remember.
We have no idea what we're doing.
No idea what we're talking about. Right before we went on air, I believe the mantra I heard you repeating was, "Where am I? What am I doing?" Yeah, that's where
am
we're
I
at.
and what am I doing? I say that a lot.
Hi. Freemasonry podcast on the level.
Ay,
we had
ay,
a
ay.
company meeting in my office today, and it's bled into my company now. Somebody said, oh, man, how did this come up? It was like, it was totally unrelated. Somebody used the word level.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't even in on the level. It was like I want to level with you kind of a situation. And they said like his podcast. Oh, that's so punny. And I said, no, you guys don't even. It's not even funny.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
it's not even accurate.
It's creeping into all aspects of life, and growth means life, man. And this thing's growing, and you guys are the reason for it. And we couldn't be more blessed and honored. And again, our commitment to you is we're not going to stop doing it. And we're always going to speak the truth, and we're always going to push the boundaries because we want Freemasonry to be all that it is supposed to be in this town, in this state, and in this country, and in this world, man. So what are we talking about today, Chris?
The Master Mason degree.
Yeah. This would be 3?
We had the second one. The second part in the series was released and got challenged by a prominent Masonic figure publicly, which led to a very vigorous private exchange.
Really? I had no idea. Why don't you explain?
Do you want me to?
No.
Okay. But that is the purpose of what we're doing here, is to spark conversation.
That's exactly right.
That's what I was getting at. Like, that's what we are hoping happens in your lodges and with your friends, is that you hear something, you're like, what do you think about this? And you start talking about it.
Right.
I'm sure you have your own opinion about some of the stuff we say. And our stuff gets posted in a lot of places, so you should leave your opinion like that
Absolutely.
prominent Masonic brother did, because we are not afraid to hear it.
No, that's right. That's right. Because if we cannot disagree in love with respect, then I don't know what we're doing.
That is
honestly
definitely part of what we're trying to do.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Gentleness and respect. And if you disagree with us, you go to the front of the line. And we will always hear what you have to say with gentle respect. And to that brother, we would say that you are a fellow Mason, and you will always be a fellow Mason. And we respect you, and And we want more. We want more,
Yeah.
brother. We definitely want more.
Lively debate, discussion.
Absolutely.
That's what we should all be striving for.
Yeah, man. I'm all about it. Yeah.
Challenging our beliefs and our ideas.
Yeah.
It's good. This is good for the fraternity. So that actually, well, another person might have seen it as a negative. I saw it as and I told him, look at how awesome this is, what we're doing right
yeah,
now.
That's right.
We're having a lively discussion about the most obscure points of ritual in Freemasonry. And it's good. Good for them. Good for us.
Yeah.
And if we can do it publicly, good for everybody.
That I would enjoy to be a part of, to have a open discussion, point counterpoint kind of discussion over, over the tenets of Masonry.
I think
that would be just absolutely
so
awesome.
Fun.
Oh,
fun.
Yes.
And it's not about a winner and a loser.
No.
It's
not
not
at all.
about making somebody look stupid
Nope,
or trying to make yourself look good. It's about legitimately showing people that you can have different ideas about the same thing. And both might be right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Both might be accurate and correct. That's the beauty of Freemasonry. And so hopefully, if any of you would like to, invite us. We'll debate.
Yeah,
anything,
absolutely.
Anything, anywhere, anytime in public.
Yeah, that's right. And we don't come as experts in any field. We're not, credentialed on anything. We're just two guys that feel very passionate about Masonry. Now, my partner, Chris, is far more versed in the tenets of Masonry. He's been in it a lot longer. He is currently my worshipful master at the Mighty 147 in Sarasota, Florida. So he's definitely a wealth of information regarding Masonry, and I learn from him every day from those things. But neither of us would come to a place to do a friendly discussion, open discussion, point counterpoint discussion in a spirit of anything but love and education and furthering the craft. So I think we've beat that one to death enough. Chris, you want to move on?
We did it once. We did a little debate in Lodge about the Knights Templar.
Oh, right.
And it went great.
Yeah, that's right.
Issues.
Yeah.
And it was entertaining, too.
Entertaining as well, which is always good.
Anyways, we're here for the Master Mason
All
degree.
right, Master Masonry. Well, we are currently going through, as many of you know, the Florida Mentor's Manual. That's GL 217, revised 2008 version of the Mentor's Manual. We are currently on page 21, 5.8, paragraph 5.8, Masonic explanation of dodage, fool, libertine, and profane.
Oh, I'm actually looking forward to hearing this one because I never Googled what dodage is. I mean, I kind of have an idea in my mind, but I don't know for sure.
It does a pretty good job here of kind of laying it out. Let's do the first paragraph, and then we'll talk a little bit about it, okay?
Yeah.
Dotage is a condition associated with old age and is marked by juvenile desires, loss of memory, and failure of judgment. Medical science cannot fix any given age at which this condition occurs, since it varies from person to person. The lodge itself must determine whether the petitioner is thus afflicted and comes under this classification. So I did my own definition of it. So someone who is mentally or physically, sorry guys, I don't know, too much coffee, not enough coffee, I don't know. Mentally or physically incapable for Masonic service. So somebody who is incapable because of the physically or mentally incapable of performing Masonic service to themselves and others, I think would be,
for example, too old to stand up to do degree work.
Not necessarily that. I don't think standing, anything like that. I think that somebody who's perhaps early onset dementia that gets to a point.
Mentally, we're talking.
Mentally,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure there's physical conditions that would make it hard for the brother to enjoy his Masonic career, as well as a burden on the lodge itself. Though I think that would be pretty obscure. I don't know what lodge would not accept a brother. Would do everything they could. I know our lodge would. We would do everything we could to bring a brother in who desires to be part of it. But there comes a point where, is it good for that brother? Does it harm him? Does it harm the lodge? And anyway, so the word dotage, go.
About that, when I was at another lodge as my home lodge, we had a brother come in that was missing a leg,
Okay.
And nobody really was sure how to handle that situation. So we actually contacted Grand Lodge and had them put in writing that it was okay to initiate him.
Oh,
Because
nice.
there were parts of the ritual that would be difficult to represent without an appendage.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so we were like, man, how do we handle this? Can he go through? And they did allow him to go through.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's
and
awesome.
That came from Grand Lodge. So I think that's probably the right way to handle it. If you're not sure, contact Grand Lodge. They don't
Right.
mind taking your questions if they're in good spirit, and they're going to tell you exactly what to do.
It's kind of
then-
what they're there for.
You're off the hook.
Right, exactly, exactly. Because then you got it in writing from the big bosses. So that,
So
yeah, that's awesome.
dotage, what they're saying here is mainly about the mental, right?
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
about
Dotage is a
capacity.
condition associated with old age and is marked by juvenile desires, loss
Wow.
of memory, and failure of judgment.
What the
I'm not
heck
sure
are
what juvenile
desires?
desires.
Like you want to play video games a lot?
I don't know. I would like to get a clarification on that. Maybe we can talk to our brother, Right Worshipful Dobbs. Maybe he could point
Maybe
us in the
it's
right
like-
direction.
You know, because when you get older, you just stop caring as much about how people view you. I think there comes a point in a man's life where he just doesn't care anymore. But I don't think that's what they're talking about. They're talking about somebody who's literally losing their capacity to have an adult conversation with you without slipping off into,
Yeah.
you know, making jokes about something unrelated. For example, maybe that's
I think so. Juvenile desires. Don't know. Maybe they just get to a. I don't know. I'm not
Because
even going to
the-
try to go into it because it could be one of those old English translations, you know,
Yeah,
that
that's
came
right.
from way, way back. That it might be something completely different.
well.
You
The
know?
the Oxford Dictionary is got a much shorter definition. It says the period of life in which a person is old and weak.
Oh, okay. Dotage.
Example: you could live here and look after me in my dotage.
Right, right. Which I
So-
think everybody kind of, when they hear that word, they kind of know that.
That's kind of what I thought it meant. Was
Right.
just getting to that stage of your life where you're old to the point where you need assistance to live.
Yeah, if any of you guys
Maybe
out
can't do
there
it on your
understand what juvenile desires might mean or does mean, you know, email us, please, so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Loss of memory and failure in judgment. So obviously, yeah, this
Yeah.
is
Due
this
to
is
age.
due to age. So this is an age related issue. So somebody comes in who wants to petition, and they're obviously incapable of, I would say that you get to a point in your life where you're not gonna be able to do catechism.
Do you think that's the spirit of the meaning behind not allowing someone
I
in
think
their dotage?
I'm
old
going to
age?
say that the spirit behind it is, would it benefit the brother who is petitioning
So it'd be
to
too
go through it?
frustrating.
It would be
for
too
him.
frustrating.
Yeah.
It might make him look and feel foolish. And us as people in our right minds have a responsibility to make sure that this person is not. I'm gonna look at it that way.
That makes sense. Actually,
That's in the best light.
I buy that, Fred. You sold
you.
me.
All right, I'm a pretty good salesman, man. I'm a pretty good salesman.
You
So
silver
the lodge.
tongued devil.
The lodge itself must determine whether the petitioner is thus afflicted and comes under this classification. So, like you said, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
So you kicked it up to Grand Lodge. Grand Lodge came back and said, "Yeah, man, do it. Rock and roll it." All right. So, fullness of years alone does not bar any man from our fraternity. We simply require that he be mentally alert and mentally healthy. The effect of time on the mental process should be the subject of any investigation made on the petitioner of advanced age. So when they go out and do the investigation, if a person is of advanced age, they should take that into consideration during their. This is really technical here. We're getting technical.
is, and
Before
you know-
we were a little more bending towards the esoteric, if that's the right word to use there. But here we are definitely going more technical,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
'Cause-
which is good.
Old age is these days directly correlated with Freemasonry for most people. When they hear you're a Freemason, they assume you're an old man. It is true. Like, it's an odd thing
got
to
a
walk
story.
into a room of young guys, and to an outsider, they'd be like, "Whoa, that's not what I was expecting." You know what I mean? In their mind, they picture a bunch of old guys.
Oh, they do, because I as you know, I joined Motor Corps, Shriners Motor Corps.
yes.
So I decided to take my Harley down to my guy I got a guy.
Your guy?
And my guy who did all kinds of really cool upgrades on my engine for me, and at a price. He's setting my bike up perfectly to do the kind of work that I want to do in motor corps, which is trick riding and all the different types of parade riding and routes and stuff that we do, courses and all that. And when I first told him, I said, yeah, motor corps. He said, motor corps, isn't that Shriners?
He knew.
And you know what he said to me?
Huh.
He said, aren't you a little young for the Shriners?
There you go.
I'm 60.
And I'm telling you, this is what people think.
I know, I'm telling you.
And I think it's interesting because as we age, I've observed that people are affected differently. And I don't know if it's the life they lived or it's their genetic disposition, but some people get really jaded and grumpy and hating everybody, hating life.
Mm-hmm.
And you see other guys that I think soften as they age and become so much more compassionate and quiet thinking kind of people. So I never really thought too hard about that dodage piece when I was doing at-home investigations a lot.
Right.
But it makes sense. I mean, really, you shouldn't let any crazy person in, right? And I guess they get into that probably more. There are other words than just dodage that we need to look at.
There are. This is all they say about dodage. Those two paragraphs are it. And honestly, the two paragraphs, I think what it comes down to, and I highlighted this one, is we simply require that he be mentally alert and mentally healthy. Mm-hmm. So at the bottom line, are they mentally alert and healthy? That's really what this whole dodage thing is all about.
I like it.
The next one, Masonically, a fool is a mature man without good common sense. Legally, he is of age. Mentally, he is retarded. The fool never has much mental power. And, the thing about the word fool is that the book of Solomon, or the book of Proverbs, which was written by Solomon, has a lot to say about the fool.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There is proverb after proverb after proverb about the fool and his ways and how one should avoid being said fool.
That's a tough one to look out for.
It's pretty harsh too. It's pretty harsh.
No, that guy was mentally retarded and a fool. I do not recommend. He's like, wow,
body blow.
Okay. I've never heard anyone disqualify someone for that purpose.
A fool is a mature man without good common sense. Legally, he is of age. Mentally, he is retarded. Wow. The fool never has much mental power.
Okay.
So this mentor's manual thinks very, very lowly of said fool.
I mean,
that's harsh.
It's fair. It's fair. I think we should try to keep fools out of the fraternity.
All right. What's a fool?
Agree. I think what you just explained, a fool is somebody who's a mature man, meaning he's left his young adulthood and he's now a mature man. In my age, that means you're probably in your 30s at least, but I'm an old man, so take that for what it is.
Old man.
But you don't have the capacity to make good decisions. So you could probably tell from somebody's if you went to their home and you see that they are on the verge of homelessness, they're not taking care of things. If you're a 24-year-old with 9 kids and you don't have a job, okay, what's going on in your head? How did you get to this point? What are you doing about it? And if the answers aren't satisfactorily given to you, you might have to assume that person's a fool.
Correct. So if you do something foolish, does that make you a fool?
In the moment, maybe?
I agree.
In the moment?
I think anyone can choose to stop being a fool at any time. And if you look in the book of Proverbs, the book that Solomon wrote, you can see that the fool can turn, should he so gain said knowledge and wisdom. He can turn from his foolish ways. Okay, I know here, let me give you an example of a foolish thing.
Are you going to do it now?
I know Yeah.
You do something foolish?
No. I've done enough of that for both of us, believe me.
A Scottish accent for the rest of the show?
I know. No, never do that. See, it makes Scottish people very angry, first thing. Right. So I know a man when he was young, married to his first wife in Riverside, California, who was having lots and lots of trouble in his young marriage prior to children being born, and he thought it'd be a really good idea to save his marriage. He thought it'd be a good idea to have children. That, my friend, is foolishness. To believe in your mind that you're struggling in your new marriage, so instead of doing the hard work of humbling oneself and working through young marital issues, throw a screaming baby with a loaded diaper in the mix. That's foolish thinking. That's foolish thinking, man. You're not stopping. And let's unwind it a little bit more. That young man, whoever he may be, that young man was not in a position to look at himself and say, you know what, this marriage is in trouble, maybe because of my behaviors. Right. I don't need to add something to this. I need to look in my own life, right, and stop making foolish decisions and do the right thing. Now that young man went on to have 3 beautiful children.
Yes,
and,
I mean,
they
there's
are
good
awesome.
things.
And I just talked to one the other day. Whoops, I didn't say that.
Foolish things can have positive outcomes.
Foolish things can have positive outcomes.
Because who knows what's good or bad?
All right, so back to my point. So if your foolishness can be a temporary thing, one can turn from his foolishness. So how do we as an investigating body see the fool legally of age, mentally he is retarded? The fool never has much mental power. Okay, so if he's being foolish, at the time of the investigation, he's in his right mind. He's doing everything seemingly right. His people like him and all that stuff. Yeah. He comes in, and then 2 years later, everyone's scratching their head and thinking, "Man, this dude's a fool. What did we do here?" So the point, the itch I'm trying to scratch here is digging in deep to the concept of the fool.
Yeah, I think that we say we make good men better.
Yeah.
So we don't want the fool who's in full foolhead.
Yeah,
part
there
of
you
his
go.
life.
There you go.
Because I have 5 kids and multiple grandchildren now. I was in a very similar situation to the one you described and made the same decisions. I tried to join the fraternity in my 20s and wasn't able to.
Oh, they thought you were a fool.
I was a fool. That's why I don't think there were other problems.
You mean so it works?
It works. I mean, heck yeah. Other people at that age might be ready, but I wasn't.
Okay.
I had the desire, but I wasn't where I'm at now.
Okay.
I would not have been as useful to the fraternity if I was of any use.
This is a great lesson. This is a great lesson right here because it works. So originally you decided you wanted to be a Mason.
I did.
And they looked at your life and background and said, "No, man, you a fool. You a fool, man. You are a fool."
I never made a petition to a lodge.
Okay.
I talked to a Freemason who I was trying to get to recommend me on a petition, and he shut me down.
Okay.
Because he was a good enough Mason to know that I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready.
Imagine that. A Mason, you got a young guy coming to you wanting to join, you're like, not right now.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Come
You're
back
not
in 20
ready.
years and you could be worshipful master.
I mean, we should all have the fortitude to do that kind of a thing.
That right there, my brother, is one of the reasons we do the show the way we do it, is right there. That is a practical application of exactly what we're talking about here. So the investigative committee, if you're on an investigative committee, don't be afraid.
It's not a rubber stamp committee.
It's not a rubber stamp committee.
Look at the life.
Yeah.
Look at the family. Look at the animals.
Stepping on some toes today. Should we go to the last one? The last one, well, it's not second to last one. Should we go to that one right now, or should we continue on the fool thing?
No, we're done with foolishness.
Okay, we're done with fool. Let's move on. No more fool.
I couldn't coax him into doing anything foolish, so I'm done with this.
Stay tuned, folks. It'll happen. Libertine. Wow.
This has got something to do with politics, right?
Masonically refers to a free thinker, nonconformist, one who subscribes to no higher authority in his thinking. It does not denote what is meant by the word in modern days, a man who is promiscuous sexually. So a libertine
I didn't know that
used to mean a man who was promiscuous sexually.
Oh.
So that's a libertine. So, because back
That
in the
has
day,
nothing to do with us.
well,
our
the words they used for women were a lot worse than the words they used for men. You ever notice that? That guy sleeps around. He's a libertine.
Yeah.
That girl sleeps around. She's a whore.
Yeah.
It's like
it's not quite fair, is it?
it's not quite fair. Yeah.
Libertine's not bad. I mean, I'd be like, yes, I am a libertine.
I am a libertine I am the libertine of libertines. But mentally, libertine Masonically refers to a free thinker, nonconformist, one who subscribes to no higher authority in his thinking.
That's the problem there.
That's the problem there. He is the ultimate authority in his own mind about all things Masonic.
About all things, probably.
All things, yeah. But I'm
because
throwing
free
that
thinking. Why would we not want a free thinker?
Right.
We do want free thinkers.
No,
Nonconformists.
Bring
it.
Those two words are joined together here. Free thinking nonconformist. He's a free-thinking nonconformist. So in other words, when it comes to Masonic law, when it comes to behavior within the lodge, when it comes to
the rules,
he's not going to follow. He's a free thinker, so he's got a better idea. He's got a better plan.
It's okay to have better ideas and plans as long as you stick to the rules.
Yeah, well, try that when you're working when you're doing floor work. No, I don't think this works the way let's try it this way.
However you want, as long as you do it the way you're supposed to.
There
do
you
it,
go.
Right?
So that would not work for a free thinking
That's the
nonconformist
part. Yeah, the nonconformist part. I get.
Yeah, I think it's probably speaks more of an overall attitude towards life, right? Where people who shirk authority in a joking way, but you can tell they really mean it. Like I was in the lodge. Somebody had been asked to do something by somebody who used to be a person of authority, but is no longer. And I could see that they were offended. Like, who are you? You can't. That's kind of that attitude, maybe that the attitude should be that no matter who comes to you in lodge and says, hey, man, can you do this? Can you do that? You should be, yeah, man, I can do it. If you can, if you're in a position to do it. Yeah, of course, brother, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll help, whatever I got to do. Instead, it's like this hesitation, because his reputation was a bit marred because of, his time. And this brother was just like, maybe. I don't. Yeah, it was like, no. That's kind of I don't know if that's nonconformist.
Yeah.
Free thinking nonconformist. I don't know if that goes to libertine as defined here, but it certainly goes to that lack of conformity to the precepts of Masonic behavior, right?
And we can't have that.
We can't have it.
No, I completely agree with that.
But I'm sitting here talking, and I'm talking myself right out of it. I don't think that explains what libertine is meant by the manual, though. Do you?
Well, it tells you what it means there. Nonconformist, free-thinking nonconformist.
Free-thinking nonconformist.
But there's that last part is the most important one. Doesn't see any other authority other than his own.
One who subscribes to no higher authority in his thinking.
That's a big problem.
That's a big problem. I think that's really the best thing that we can get out of this right here.
You can't have that kind of person in the military, right? There's a chain of command.
Right.
You might think the command is dumb. You may hate it because it might end your life to follow the command, but you need people that are going to follow orders.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And it's not that extreme in Freemasonry, but there is a hierarchy. There is a chain of command. And in my opinion, we want free thinkers. We want people that think differently and voice their concerns and talk about their issues with things and vigorously argue to defend their thinking. But when the decision comes down, that's when it's time to be a good Mason and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, man.
Even if it isn't what you want to do.
Right.
And I've been preaching that in anybody that I'm in the line with for the last 5 years. Talk about it, argue it, definitely. But when that decision comes down, you need to just get on board and shut your mouth until a more appropriate time comes up when you can revisit it. Until then, you need to be a vessel of your station and execute as you're supposed to. So yeah, if you can't see authority, you got no business being a Mason.
Yeah, no, that's right. So I think when it comes to the word libertine, I guess for me, I'm thinking I'm looking at a person who they're in their own mind, the ultimate authority that they subscribe to is their own thinking within their own mind. So they think it. Therefore, I'm at a deficit for not walking in lockstep with their own thinking. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know, but
that's a tough one to call.
It's really tough, yeah, because
when you see it, because you don't know if it's a personality thing between you and the person. You don't know if it's like a topical thing of what you're talking about. Hard to determine that that's just the kind of person he is.
Right.
Without really knowing them very well.
I think, there are people that there's always some kind of drama going on with them, so it
I feel like that's me.
But negative drama. Let's call that. Yeah, you got a lot of drama, but it's all positive, man. It's like, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen.
Cirque du Soleil. Yes.
But there's always people. I'm not speaking of anyone in specifically.
Yeah.
Please don't infer that by what I'm saying here.
Just like I did. No, he's talking about me.
But we all know people where there's just this cloud of constant negative drama around them, and it just everything pops up every once in a while. It's like, gosh, man, it's like there's always something. That to me is going to be the libertine. Somebody I can identify. That's either the fool or the libertine, or it's somebody who needs some help. I'm not looking to kick them out. I'm not looking to harm them or defame them or hurt them.
But they don't need to be messing with our Freemason stuff here.
Well, that's right.
I mean, that is going to cause disharmony.
And I think that's the bottom line here. I guess that's why we are taking the time to identify these things, and why the manual probably takes time to identify them, is because at the end of the day, this kind of behavior and people who practice this kind of stuff are going to bring disharmony to the lodge. And that can't be. We can't have that.
Nope. And that's something that every petition committee and investigating committee member needs to keep in mind when they're vetting people. Is this person going to be able to get on board? Is he going to be, a problem for the lodge? Maybe he just wouldn't fit into your lodge, but he'd fit better into the culture of another lodge and be less problematic there. Those are the kind of things we need to consider and say, you know what, you should check this out too. I know a guy over there, call him, set up a meeting. We don't have to just say no. Because in some cases it might make sense to. I've seen cases like that, and we've gotten brothers like that because they've been at other lodges, and we have a lodge close to us. Well, like I'm talking a mile a mile from us, and so people get confused. Why are there two lodges? And we tell them, check them both out. You got to go and see the vibes, because ours traditionally has been more about the education and a little more stuffy and a little. A little more about the history. And the other lodge close to us traditionally has been more about community service and doing fun things with family.
Yeah.
And so that's two very different cultures. And some guys that might have young kids and want to be out in the community would have a better time.
Yeah. Shout out to Phoenix Lodge, by the way.
At Phoenix Lodge. And I say historically because things are always changing, right? I'm not saying that's who it is, who we are today. Right. We're trying to change for sure, and I'm sure they are too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those guys, they're great guys over there, man.
We've gotten people because we're an older lodge, and we have more history, and that's what their vibe is. They like the history, and so that's why they came to us. So the culture does have an impact on somebody's ability to be harmonious with the group.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, you want to do the last one in this little list? The profane.
Oof.
Profane. Masonically, profane means not a Mason.
Yeah.
It comes from the Latin pro, meaning before, and fanium, meaning a temple. Masonically, a profane is one outside of the temple / uninitiated. So anybody
that's good to know
who is uninitiated is known as profane.
Yeah.
So obviously the word profane did not quite have the same meaning as it does today.
Right.
Right. So
we all know it from profanity.
From profanity, right.
which is a very bad thing.
And it says right here, it says the word has no reference to profanity in the modern sense of taking the name of God in vain.
Right.
Because originally that's what profanity meant. When you take the name of the Lord in vain, that was known as profanity. Now it's known as any type of
slur,
blue
curse,
lettered, blue streak words, is known as profanity. But anyway, so the profane is anybody who is uninitiated. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And that's how I've always heard it referenced Masonically. So that makes sense.
All right. Do we want to just jump to the next one?
What are we skipping?
Nothing. The next one is 5.9. Are you sure?
Yeah.
I wrote in big letters over it, skip it. But I guess you want to go into it. So 5.9 is
this women?
It just says one word, woman.
Oh, I definitely want to get into this one.
All right. Are you
no,
ready?
nothing big. But
do you want me to read it first?
Yeah, please.
All right, I'll read it first. All right, so 5.9 in the Masonic Mentors Manual on women. The question as to our refusal to allow women to become Masons has arisen many times in the history of the craft. You think? Speculative Freemasonry springs from the operative art and applies to the tools and implements of the craft to moral and intellectual purposes. In the construction of the massive structures built by our operative brethren, only hardy men were employed. In due time, this became one of the landmarks written as a requirement that only men could be initiated as Freemasons. The landmark is effective today and will probably continue to be into the future. So there's not a lot there.
Well, they're talking about an operative Masonry, why there wasn't women.
Right.
And because it's hard work. Well, you're lifting heavy stuff.
Right? May I venture that perhaps they're just kind of giving a pass on this one a little bit, little pass on that one, maybe.
Lifting heavy rocks isn't good for women, so we don't allow women.
The operative guys, they needed some beefcakes out there, and we just kind of went with it. So sorry. Move on. 5.2. Moving on.
It may very well be the case that was a rule for operative Masons.
It absolutely was.
And then it was carried over to our spec. It may be the case.
Let's keep in mind, in that time and era of time, women did not do hard labor.
Right.
It just wasn't done.
Much clearer definitions.
Yeah, the definitions. Absolutely. So that's definitely a sign of the times. And what they're saying here is they're just simply saying that landmark of it being a fraternity just comes out of our tradition. It's just part of our tradition, and it's been brought into the future.
Sauce. And that's what I call it. Weak sauce.
Yeah, it's pretty weak. It's weak, yeah.
So here's what I tell people, because my wife had issue with this when I was going to join. She didn't care about the stuff she had heard, right? The satanic stuff, because she's like, I know him, Chris. He's not going to turn into a devil worshiper.
Right.
But she was like, it's in this day and age, she was so offended that women are excluded from something. And so I was actively looking for a good reason when I joined Freemasonry that I could bring home. And I found it real quick. And so now this is what I tell people, because this is why I think it's a thing. We don't allow religion and politics to be discussed in Lodge. Why?
Because I know where you're going with this. Because it brings disharmony.
It's divisive.
Right.
There's nothing good that's going to come out of that. And people are going to get set in their ways and change. And I think sports and women should be included, excluded for the same reason. A woman coming into the situation with men changes the way that we act and think and behave.
Absolutely.
We are not as open. We are not as true to ourselves. We are bowed up. We're trying to project something. You can't control that, okay? It's a natural reflex of an animal in the world. You can't help yourself. I mean, you can, but it's hard work. And I think it goes in line with removing the obstacles that gets to us exploring how to become better people. Because if we can't be totally honest and trust each other as men in a room together, how are we gonna get there? And a woman coming into that situation will definitely change that dynamic in a negative way for men that are trying to be open and share themselves to the fullest and the most truest, rawest way that they can, which is how we should be approaching Freemasonry.
I totally agree. And it's so true. That's why when you go to the gym is such a dysfunctional, those $9 a month gyms that you go to and stuff, because there's men and women in there working out together, and you could just feel the utter dysfunction in the air, man. It's just nobody is being themselves on any level, and it's because there's a little bit of competition in there.
Yeah.
There's really good-looking women in there, scantily dressed.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these guys in there, but chesting up and stuff, and it's just a bad mix.
Yeah.
But if you went to a gym where it's just all guys working out, I can tell you right now, there'd be a lot of chesting up. There'd be a lot of smack talk, but it would be completely different.
Yeah.
It would be so completely. First thing, the work would be getting done. Men focus on work. So when we're there to do work, we do work. When it's just us, you throw a woman in the mix and the work is out the window. It's no longer about the work. It's about this other thing. So I completely agree with you. Now, was that the motivation behind the Grand Lodges and the lodges in not bringing women in?
I'd like to think so.
Right. Well, and that's what I was gonna say, is that for me, when you introduce women into the mix, it's not necessarily a sexual problem in any way. I mean, of course, our minds go to that because we're visual.
Yeah.
God made us to see that form for a reason. We would die off as a species if they didn't look that way, guys, because we're lazy, right?
Oh, when my wife comes to the lodge, she's like, I just had like 40 old men staring at my boobs for like an hour.
But the other part of it is, for me, I'm very keen on protecting. I'm very protective of women. I don't want them to feel.
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel embarrassed. I don't want them to be. I want to make sure that they're cared for, and I think that's inbred in us.
Sure.
And I have 2 daughters, so for me, I am always trying to protect and make sure the woman in the room is comfortable, happy. Some women are offended by this, believe it or not, but I am always.
Nothing surprises me these days.
It's always me
being offended,
that I'm going to protect her. If somebody's offending her, you're going to get the full Fred right up in your face. It's going to be.
So
that's all part of it.
And again, it's going to mess with the harmony. It
It's
could
absolutely going to mess with the
have
harmony.
a huge opportunity to mess with the harmony.
Yeah.
So I would like to believe that's why. It's just too much of a obstacle to us reaching our objectives to have that.
Well, and the other thing is that it's a fraternity.
Yeah.
Okay? Not a sorority. It's a fraternity. Women have sororities, which men are not permitted to be a part of, and men have fraternities, which women are not permitted to be a part of. And I think that's fair. I don't think we need to, if once women are accepted into the fraternity, guess what? It's no longer a fraternity.
Right.
By definition. You've turned it into it's a social club.
Social club.
It's the Moose Lodge, or whatever other one of those. And there's nothing wrong with those places. They're actually, and we have appendant bodies that are, mixed, which are very, very effective in the community.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've beaten that one to death, I think.
Women.
Can't live with them, can't live without them. I shouldn't have said that. Number 5.10 is signs, tokens, and words, and I think this is a real good one. It's one of the parts of our rituals that I love. I really love the signs.
These are the secret parts of the ritual.
The secret parts of the ritual. That's right, and I think this is worded very well. Somebody took a little bit of time to do this. Now this points to. Now remember, this is the mentor's manual. So this is helping us speak to another brother about the things of Masonry who may or may not know them yet. So that's we got to keep that in mind while we're reading through this, and Chris and I are commenting on it. This manual is something that every Mason should be reading and understanding, in my opinion, because it really gives you insight into how to convey the tenets of Masonry to another person. And it kind of keeps you on track. I know there's a lot of guys out there that want to do mentorship. It has nothing to do with this manual. I am completely in opposition to that. I think this manual is all you need to begin the mentoring process in the life of another brother. I don't know where I got that from. Signs, tokens, and words. We attach considerable importance to the signs, tokens, and words in Freemasonry because they are an essential part of our mods of recognition. By the use of these, one may prove himself to be a Mason and be able to recognize others as such. Put a little asterisk there. While these in themselves are insufficient proof of membership, they constitute very important links in the chain of evidence that they are always called for by one appointed to examine a visitor. The candidate should be reminded that each sign, token, and word has a symbolic meaning which should serve to enrich the mind and improve our lives as Masons. The mentor should rehearse and explain all the signs, tokens, and words of this degree with the new Master Mason. The proper execution of all signs should be stressed, and all brothers should be required to cultivate the habit of with such precision and performance as would indicate his respect for the dignity of this part of the ceremony. The proper execution of the signs will also give testimony to his brethren that he understands the signs and respects the ceremonies. That last part is it kind of hits home for me because I personally don't have the signs, tokens, and words down like I think I should.
So at our last state of meeting, we literally did education on the signs.
I know. I remember that.
And
I'm Tyler, so I got to see half of it.
Sorry about that.
I'm not resentful, though.
I was informed that you were talking to somebody, and I couldn't bring you in when I wanted to. So.
I think we mentioned this at the last podcast.
Don't listen.
Let this go.
Yeah.
Don't listen.
Okay. But what I started out by explaining is, for me, because now I'm sitting in the East, I see, as we ballot, how people do signs off a lot. And I think that it's a poor reflection on your lodge and your mentors for you to go around visiting other lodges doing the signs poorly.
Correct.
And incorrectly.
Yeah.
It shows that, one, you don't understand what the signs meant. And two, if you're not willing to do that most basic thing correctly, that how seriously do you take all the rest of it in Masonry?
Right.
And so that's how we started our education, is saying it seems silly, but this is really important, that you take a little pride and you learn what you're doing and why you're doing it if you're going to be doing it at all. And then we covered how to do it properly. And Florida, if you're listening, has open books where you can see them and it's described and you can learn how to do them properly. It shouldn't be hard for you to find somebody that can help show you how to do them properly and explain what they mean to you. But you're right. This is a tradition thing. This isn't you're going to get access if you know how to do it, because it's on the internet. Anyone can go look at how to do it and do it. It doesn't prove anything.
Right.
But it's the tradition that we keep these things secret. And so it's one of the first tests as a Mason that we get.
Right.
If you recall, you're in an apprentice degree. Are you going to follow the rules? Or are you going to break your obligations?
Right.
And you committed to not tell these things, so don't. It's that simple. Just don't. Just be a good Mason and don't do it. Also, do it right if you're going to do it.
Yeah,
that's another part of being a good Mason.
That's important.
Take some pride in your work.
And that's exactly what it says right here. It shows the respect and dignity for the ceremony and for Masonry, is that you've taken the time to learn them. For me, it's the tokens, and being able to do the tokens correctly. I am going to master that in such a great way that wherever I go, I'm going to be doing that with Masons everywhere I go, because I was at I rode with the guys out east to one of the biker bars out there, and we were hanging out, and there's a dude pulls up on a really nice 3-wheeler, older guy, and he's got emblems and symbols all over him, man. He's clearly a Mason. And as he was getting on his bike, I walked over to him and I said, so you're a Mason, I presume? Like that. I said it just like that, and he just went right into everything. And we were going back and forth. Then we both realized we were in public and we stopped.
Oop.
It's like, what? Oh, hold it. But I realized at that point, I really would have rather have gone up to him and offered him my hand, and given him, the token, and gone through that with him. But I was afraid to, in my mind, because I wasn't exactly.
Oh, you didn't want to do it wrong.
I didn't want to do it wrong,
Yeah.
and that's when I thought, and that's why reading this, I realized that that's got to end. I'm going to take the time to perfect it. Anybody out there who's feeling the same way I'm feeling, get it done, man. Get in there and figure it out. Find somebody who does know it, and every time you see them, do it. That's what I'm going to do with my worshipful master here and partner on the podcast. Every time I see him, he and I are going to engage in the token of a Master Mason.
I have two things on that.
Okay.
Now, this came up recently because we have a lot of new guys in our lodge, and they know the tokens.
Right.
Like the tokens.
Right.
But it's hard without thinking it's going to happen to pop it off all of a sudden, out of the blue.
Because you haven't done it that much.
Right. You never do, really.
Right.
I mean, really, ever.
We should do it more because it's really cool.
That's the one thing, is that we just don't do it enough. So it's hard for you to reflexively do something when you don't.
Totally what I was feeling
much.
out there. Totally exactly what I was feeling.
You're like, in hindsight, you're like, missed opportunity.
I know. I was
How
bummed,
many
man.
more opportunities like that am I going to get this year? And in reality, you might get 2 a year. It's like that's how rarely you employ the tokens. And so it's hard to pop them off like that. That's my first thing. So if you do them more, I think it would be good. It'd be good for you and good for everybody else.
Yeah.
The other thing is we are going to be doing, I think, next week, a Rusty Mason degree.
Right.
So they, in our district, we do it once a year. And I highly recommend, if your district isn't doing it, that you get with the Master Mason, or they call it the Masters and Wardens Association, and have them put one on. Or in our case, it's the Past Masters Unit of the Shrine that puts it on. In the past, this year it's going to be in conjunction. The Master Mason Association and the Past Masters Unit of the Shrine is doing it. But a lot of brothers that haven't been to lodge in a little while don't come back because they're afraid that they're not going to know those things and they're going to be embarrassed.
Right.
It really is the reason they don't come. And so go to a Rusty Mason degree. They're going to cover the signs, the tokens, and the words, and all the important stuff. Not everything, just the important stuff that'll make you feel comfortable. If anyone ever threw one at you, you'd know exactly how to handle it and why. So I highly recommend anybody like yourself, go refresh, go there, listen to it, and then, you'll have it after that. And I go every year, and that helps. It helps to be refreshed because we don't do them much. We do them in lectures and degrees.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. And being Tyler.
And twice a year you'll run into somebody that'll give you a token, and you're like, oh.
Right.
I don't know if he got what I was doing there, or if I embarrassed myself.
Yeah, right. But as Tyler, there was a couple of times when guys came in, it would have been cool to just to greet them in that way, because they're probably not expecting it. So what I would be able to ascertain almost immediately if they actually were or were not Master Masons, just by, maybe they're a little rusty, but they still get the tenets of it.
Right.
Or maybe, they're slick, man, and they're just like better at it than me. Then I'm a little bit embarrassed, and challenged to get better at it.
Yeah. Either way, it's a good thing.
But I think it's a good thing, because to me, I just think that kind of stuff for our fraternity has some really cool man shit in it. Pardon my language, man. And that's part of it right there, man. I dig that stuff,
I think we can maintain a PG-13 rating if we only use 1 or 2 curse words. So you're fine. You're fine.
All right. Unless you've bleeped it out, and then this part of the conversation is
not
necessary.
This will also be cut out. So say them all right
now. So signs, tokens, and words. What about words, man? What are words?
The words. So the words are just another mode of recognition, really.
Right.
All 3 of those things go together.
Right.
So you have a sign, a token, and a word for each of the 3 degrees, and this is how we as Masons recognize each other and where we're at in our journey in Masonry. And this ties into the historical operative Masons, because people weren't born free when they were actually doing these guilds of Masonry. And so people that were able to travel for their craft because they had this skill that was so important and needed all throughout Europe. They were allowed to travel, and so the ability to have a proof that you had attained a certain rank in your craft would have been critically important to keep secret, because that was a valuable asset, that was a valuable commodity that was traded at the time, and that is a tradition that we carry on as speculative masonry. So I think we are mainly doing it out of tradition.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that's just so silly because people say, I have secrets. These are the secrets that we're talking about.
Right.
And they don't have anything to do with your religious belief or any of that stuff.
None of that stuff.
100% modes of recognition from operative masonry that as a tradition we carry on in speculative masonry.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to find it, it's on the internet. Don't do it if you're going to join.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't ruin it for yourself. And don't ruin it for somebody else, man, because that's just lame. The next one's the working tools. Do we want to dive into that, or is that going to be on the next?
Only a fool would do that.
Only a fool. Well, we're an hour in, and people are clamoring to us to extend the length of the podcast to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know anybody. Ask my wife. She won't listen to me for an hour and a half. I don't know why you guys will, but hey, people are asking for continued conversation.
Yeah.
More than an hour.
Let's get through the first half of the Master Mason degree with this episode.
Whoa.
So that next time we can start digging into the second half, the fun, juicy part of this degree.
All right. The working tools of a Master Mason. The working tools of a Master Mason are all of the implements of Masonry. In the United States, the trowel is especially assigned to this degree. By it, the Master Mason is reminded that each must cement the ties between Masons with this instrument and spread brotherly love with it. When we examine the instrument, we will agree that it might more properly belong to the fellow craft, who in operative masonry puts the stones into place, rather than the designer and overseer who would correspond to our Master Masons. Our English and Scottish brethren assign instruments to the Master Mason which are not enumerated in our own rituals. In these grand lodges, the working tools of a Master Mason are the skirret, pencil, and compasses. The skirret is an instrument working on a center pin and used by operative masons to mark out on the ground the foundation of the intended structure. The pencil is used in drawing plans and designs. The compasses are used to determine the limits and proportions of the several parts of the structure. The skirret points to the straight and undividing line of conduct laid down for our guidance in the Holy Bible. The pencil teaches that all of our words and actions are not only observed but recorded by God. And the compasses remind us of his unerring and impartial justice, which, having defined for us the limits of good and evil, will either reward or punish us as we deserve. Wow. Wow. You know, I had not gotten that far, so that's the first read for me.
Heavy.
And that's pretty heavy. I want to go back to paragraph 1 and read it, because that second paragraph does, in fact, deal with English and Scottish masonry, which is very different on a lot of tenets than ours. But I do like the way it reads. I mean, with the skirret, pencil, and compass, I get it, and I like it, but it's
not part of our tradition.
It's not part of ours. So let me read that first paragraph again. The working tools of a Master Mason are all of the implements of masonry. In the United States, the trowel is especially assigned to this degree. By it, the Master Mason is reminded that each must cement the ties between Masons with this instrument and spread brotherly love with it. When we examine the instrument, we will agree that it might more properly belong to the fellow craft, who, in operative masonry, puts the stones into place, rather than the designer and overseer who would correspond to our Master Mason. So yeah, the trowel is, well, you got to wait. I think I know where you're going. You got to back up. You got to say it's the working tools of a Master Mason are all the tools, working tools of masonry taught to you up to this point,
right?
With a special attention to the trowel,
right?
And I've got a couple of notes here that I've made over the years concerning that.
Oh, very interesting. So I think there could also be a situation where there were only 2 degrees at one point, and
Right.
it got split out, and it's they had to have separate tools for each of the 3 degrees. So it could be just a slight oversight by the person who did the writing of the degree that was added. Because yes, I would agree with what they say. It definitely fits in more with the fellow craft than the master mason.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I think I've talked about this in the EA degree. I wrote down just for me, just some things that I gleaned from the tools. In the EA degree, it's a 24-inch gauge and the common gavel.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the fellowcraft, it's the plumb, the square, and the level.
Mm-hmm.
And then the trowel, looking back at all the working tools of a master mason, especially the trowel. And so for me, it was the 24-inch gauge represents my time in my life. The common gavel represents a willingness to learn. It's not doing the work. It's a willingness to do the work. Because if you came onto my job site and I handed you a hammer, you wouldn't know how to use it, but
Right.
you would be willing to learn how to use it. So that's what that represents to me. The plumb is the standard I set. The square is the standard I set applied, right? And then the level is the path we walk on together as brethren. We meet on the level. It's the name of our show, for goodness sakes. And then the trowel, for me, the trowel represents doing all of the work. So as a master mason, spreading the cement of love and brotherly affection encompasses all of the things that I've learned thus far into the building of our temple, of the building of our lodge, our temple, our brothers, our families, our work, everything. Right? That's the way that I see it. And I just think the only reason I wanted to go back to that was for my own selfish reasons, because I just always have to remind myself of this cool stuff. But also just to get to that place where I'm remembering again that the trowel is the sign. Typically, when you see symbols and emblems of master masons, the trowel is always there.
Yes,
and that trowel is. I'm so close to getting a trowel tattoo.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I just think it reminds us of everything we need to be reminded of. Right? See, the cement of brotherly love and affection is spread in the lives by me in my life towards all of my brothers and including and also mankind.
Hopefully. Yeah. Once you're good at it.
And that's the point. Remember, we were an apprentice. We were an apprentice. And then after apprenticing and learning that part of the trade, we're given the opportunity to apply it in the building of the temple. And then we got so good at it that we are now given the honor of doing design work and management work and managing those craftsmen below us to build this temple. It's no small thing, man. It's a big deal.
This is just another instance of this degree hammering home harmony and its importance to us as a fraternity and as a society. Because that tool at its highest level, as it stated here, is about spreading brotherly love, and that is harmony. So disagreements, healthy, good, but you need to walk away brothers that love each other.
Yeah.
And, the debates about how something should be done, good and healthy, but at the end, when a decision's made, you walk away and execute the agreed upon plan together as brothers.
Right.
Harmony is it's important. It's incredibly important to any society, but for us especially, because we're here to help each other, lift each other up, and divisiveness has no part in that. If you are somebody that finds yourself constantly at odds with your brothers, think about the trowel more.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
This is what you were called to do when you became a master mason, is change your behavior and start to think about how you can get along better with your brothers. That doesn't mean like you stop thinking for yourself. It just means you try to change your tactics. Maybe it's a little political thing for you. You need to sometimes let somebody else win if you're the guy that has to always win. But I think at its highest level, it's about harmony, which is a theme that we keep talking about in this degree.
That's right.
All these things keep saying harmony, harmony, harmony. And the tool itself is saying harmony. You think it's important?
I think it's, I think they're trying to tell us something. Because at the end of the day, nothing can get done that's of any real value or that's really worth doing if it's done with strife and envy and trouble along the way, And I know there are lodges out there who experience that, and there's probably some brothers out there right now who are saying, this is breaking my heart, bro, because, my lodge is full of strife and envy and trouble.
A lot of stuff doesn't get done in lodges because of people's egos.
Yeah, it's so true. It's
and
absolutely
also
true.
Jealousy. I've seen it.
Yeah.
People, I'm not trying to poo-poo on the fraternity at all. What I'm trying to do is poo-poo on people that aren't acting like Masons and being better stewards of their place in the fraternity. And if it's you, if you're listening to this, I hope you start to think about how you can change even a little, because it's a problem in Freemasonry that we have to deal with. You have to kill your ego. You're part of something bigger than yourself. That's why you joined. You wanted to be part of something bigger than yourself, and now you are. And that means you don't always get your way. It's not always going to be, even if you're right, that means you didn't do a good enough job explaining yourself or making other people understand. And, you have to be able to work together towards the common good of the whole. And in our lodges, oftentimes, I have seen people intentionally try to kill things because either it's not their idea or it's not the way they imagine their idea being realized, or the worst one, they don't want to see somebody else get a win.
Right. Yeah.
The worst one. They just want somebody else not to win.
Yeah.
And those things are all going against everything that this Master Mason degree is trying to teach us.
Yeah.
So you're hurting all of us if that's how you're acting in your lodge. You're definitely hurting your brothers. You're definitely hurting the future of your lodge by not being able to let your own ego get out of the way. It's tough because it's very tough because most of us aren't getting paid to do this.
Right.
I say that because some secretaries and treasurers are, but we're not, most of us. And so we do this out of love and passion.
Right.
And so you're bringing so much love and passion to this thing. Of course, it's going to be difficult to subdue those things when it doesn't go your way. But that's what we're called to do. This is what it means to be a better man.
It's so true.
Change your ways and your natural instincts.
Yeah, it is not our nature to overlook an offense.
No,
it is totally not our nature. But you're never closer to God when you choose to overlook an offense, because He overlooked a great offense. Now I'm of course dabbling into my own faith tradition there, but that's it's just true. When we overlook.
Are we not recording? For how long?
Okay, there we go. I don't know what happened there. When you overlook an offense, the first thing you do is you overlook it with what I call with your hands, or with your words and your hands. So it's a learned response. It's okay, man. It's all right. I forgive you. I'm not offended. I ain't mad at nobody. Whatever you got to say to get that done. You may not feel it in your heart right away. So, but on your hands, in your body language, and in your words, you have overlooked an offense, and then you can begin the work in your heart to overlook that offense, to forgive that offense. But the one thing you don't want to do is react in such a way where you have to now unravel this path of unforgiveness. And it's a split-second decision almost always when offense occurs. You have to have a heart and mind and attitude toward forgiveness. So in other words, if you're practicing a heart of brotherly love and affection, if you are seeking to be at peace with all men all the time, if it's in your heart and mind to do it and you're practicing it, when those offenses come at you, when you see and hear things, you will react accordingly. But if you're never thinking about these things, if you're never delving into the act of forgiveness, brotherly love, and the concepts and precepts of Masonry, and whatever your faith tradition might be as well, then you're going to be subject to these moments in time where an offense comes along, and you're the first reaction out of your mouth or your hands is to be offended and to let that fly, to let it out. You've let it out. Once you let it out, now you have to go back and make corrections. You got to humble yourself. You got to ask for forgiveness and make things right. The practice of forgiveness, mercy, of brotherly love and affection and humility are all part of this entire process here.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. Like I said, overlooking an offense is not our nature. It is not the way we are. We have to work at that. What we don't have to work at is retaliation, envy, and anger. We don't have to work at that. That comes completely natural.
Yeah. Yeah, and all the movies are telling us that's what's cool.
Right. Yeah,
kill everybody that offended you, or
the
kill
vengeance,
them all.
vengeance. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And we're all in the movie theater going, yeah, kill them all, because that's who we are as a people.
Yeah. Yeah. And Freemasonry teaches quite the opposite. And the working tools of the 3 degrees helps us to understand that. And when we get to the end of it, we should proudly hold that trowel in hand and scoop up the cement of brotherly love and affection and liberally and skillfully apply it to the blocks, bricks, and columns of this great temple that we're building. Yeah?
Yes. And my advice, if you're in a lodge where you're experiencing people that are putting their own egos or their own interests above the good of the lodge, they're not exercising their use of the trowel clearly, you are not only within your rights, you're called to go to that brother at a time where it's away from everything else and quiet and whisper in his ear, "This is what I saw, brother. I just want you to know I think it wasn't correct. And I'm not telling you what to do, but I've been told to do this as a Mason that I think that you could maybe handle that differently in the future."
Right.
Whisper some wise counsel in his ear privately where you won't embarrass him and he can actually receive what you have to say without, his obvious natural instincts taking over.
Right. Yeah. And that's with gentleness and respect.
Yeah.
And in private, and then hold that sacred trust,
Leave it after the conversation. Leave it.
Yeah.
Don't change your opinion of the person. Don't expect anything different from him, but do your job. If you see somebody erring, whisper in his ear. Help him out.
I think and I was just thinking about, I don't know if this is the opposite side of it, is if going to a brother that you feel has offended you, and maybe he didn't realize it, said something or did something that offended you, instead of holding it in and then having all of these, passive aggressive behaviors pop out every once in a while, going to them in private and saying, "This is really hard for me to do. I don't know why. I'd rather just blow it off," which is not healthy. But going to a brother and saying, "Brother, what you did the other day, I just need you to know that I don't think it was right. I think that was wrong, and I was offended by that. And I want you to know I forgive you. I'm not angry at you, but I need you to know that what you did wasn't right."
Yeah.
Or
at least this is how I felt about what you did.
Exactly. Yeah.
For some time, and I got over it or whatever. But
I think that if the brother receives that, you've won your brother. And he became...
You're helping him be better.
Well, also, I think you've bonded as brothers together even closer.
Yes.
Because it's that kind of stuff that brings us together, is when we talk that way and work that way together.
That you cared enough. That you cared enough to even do this.
Yeah.
It's going to speak volumes, hopefully, to the person.
Right. And I, as the offended party, am no longer offended because I got up the courage. And that's what it takes. It takes courage to go to the brother and speak these words. And he had the humility and grace to receive them. And together we walked away better Masons, better men,
Yeah.
Better whatever it is in your life. So I'm convinced I'm definitely getting the trowel tattoo. I've designed it.
Just right now.
I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I've been trying to figure out which
I'll put a poll on
Masonic
Facebook
tattoo.
of what part of his body we're going to put this tattoo on. We'll leave it up to the listeners.
Sorry, guys. It's going to be the lower left calf, on my calf,
Okay.
lower left. I get to choose where my tattoos go.
Dang it.
Sorry. Like I told my
You're not
kids,
playing along
get tattoos like I did, children. When you're 48 years old, get
Yeah.
your first one. That's what I told them.
At my age, I'm 49. I'm thinking, what's the point of getting a tattoo now? I'm not even going to take my shirt off in public ever. Who's going to see it?
I don't know.
I
why
digress.
We do the things we do. We digress.
This is important. This is really important, what we're talking about.
It is.
I think getting into the line is such a great way to put all these tools to use.
I agree.
Because if you don't, then you're on the sidelines and you only really have the opportunity to do it at a couple times a month at a stated meeting, right?
Right.
But if you're in the line, you're working on Freemasonry, depending on how active your lodge is and where you're at in the line, every day.
Right.
And you're going to run across people that rub you the wrong way. You're going to run across everything we just talked about. You're going to run across people that are trying to kill things because it's not their idea. You're going to run across people that are hurting other people and maybe don't even know that they're hurting. All of this stuff is going to happen in the lodge.
Yeah.
And that the lodge is our training wheels for life. So I have learned so many valuable lessons by being an officer in 2 lodges in lines that it has definitely had a positive impact on my life outside the lodge.
I totally agree.
100%,
Yeah.
no question asked,
Absolutely.
definitely has. Because those training wheels in the lodge help me learn how to do things when I go out into the world. And I'm a pretty active self-improvement guy, so I'm always thinking I'm down on myself too much, maybe. But that's just me. If you're not in the line and you're in Freemasonry, you don't have all those opportunities with those training wheels on. And I don't think you get as much. So if you can find the time in your life, please do get involved. If not in the line, in a committee, in some fashion in Freemasonry, because the more you're involved, the more situations you're going to run into where you have more opportunity to improve yourself and become a better person using the tools of Freemasonry to help you in these situations, which you will change yourself and you will be able to take those lessons out into the world and start to, because, man, I own a company. Other people don't. They have a job. It's the same thing. You're so busy. You're busy. You have life stuff that keeps you busy when you go home. Maybe you have a hobby that you like to do. So you don't get a lot of time to reflect. And
Right.
you don't get much time to analyze things that happen. Some people are really good at that. I know I wasn't and am not. But in Freemasonry, you don't have a choice. You're going to see these people. You're going to have to answer for your actions, hopefully.
Right. Hopefully.
Because accountability is a big part of Freemasonry. So the one thing I'd say is get involved. The more involved you are in the lodge, the more opportunity you have to use the tools and learn from them. And 2, I'm not good with confrontation, and I've always avoided confrontation. And I have learned through Freemasonry that this is an expression of caring for somebody.
It is.
To come to them and tell them something that you saw that you think they could correct.
Right.
It is you showing them love. It is not you trying to hurt them, break them down, or be better than them.
Right.
And this is what Masonry is telling you to do. Help them.
Yeah. To see a brother do something that is not Masonic, destructive, and to do nothing about it is indifference, and that's the opposite of love, is indifference. If I am indifferent to my child as far as what they do, as long as you don't cause me any trouble, you and I are okay. That's indifference towards your child. That child will grow up and have a lot of struggles in life, because that's the opposite of love. Love corrects. Love says, that direction is the wrong direction. I love you enough to take a chance here in love and help correct you. And I hope, and I'm saying this because I hope that there are brothers in my life who will do that in my life. If they see me go in the wrong direction, if they see me saying or doing something that maybe I had said, that I was never going to do, that's a clear sign that something's not right. Something that I've said, I'm not going to do this thing. I'm not going to do this thing. 4 months later, a brother comes up to me and says, hey, man, you told me that you were never going to do this thing, and now I see you doing it. What's up with you? Right? Mm-hmm. That's a brother who loves me.
Yeah.
That's a brother who loves me, and I'm going to say, oh, man, you're right. You're right. What am I doing here? Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
That would be an example, and I hope everyone listening here is ready to implement these principles in their lives. That kind of thing. Look for opportunity. Don't look for people doing stuff wrong, but you don't have to look too hard. But look for brothers who you can trust. It's like I said, find that realm of men, that you can trust, that inner circle of men who are willing to be transparent and open with each other, that you can grow with. I would call it the 10 good men. I think our goal should be to have 10 good men in our lives. And their families, and their whole realm, and together we can grow and become something great. That's one of the reasons why I joined Freemasonry. We've talked about that before. All right, Chris, we are at an hour and a half.
Wow,
which makes me happy. I'm happy now. I'm not always happy, but today I am.
Well, we got through a lot today.
Yeah, I think so. Where are we going next? Next, guess who? The hieramic. I knew that, and now here I am in front of the microphone acting like a fool. I just can't pronounce it. Say it.
Hieramic.
The hieramic legend.
There you go.
Is next, and then the Temple of Solomon, and then the 3 Grand Masters. So this is really going to get
getting
deep.
into the second section, which is really good stuff.
It really is.
This is where the morality plays come in.
Yep.
And I can't wait to talk about this stuff.
And then it goes into the symbolism of the temple, Solomon, the king of Israel, Hiram, the king of Tyre, Hiram Abiff, the travel to travel in foreign countries. I mean, it really, there's so much here. I don't know why anybody's going outside of this manual because it's really good, man.
Well, especially this one. Once you start reading what's in that section.
It's so good.
Talk about the ruffians and what they represent.
Yeah. So, all right.
I'm going to brag for
Please
a second
do.
Because, man, I want to. There's a guy in our district that's a legend. His name is Barry D. Hart.
Oh, shout out, right? Worshipful Heart.
And to me, he's a legend.
He is a legend.
He is a machine with the ritual. He told me that he once did the East for the first part, King Solomon in the second part, and gave the lecture and a Master Mason degree.
And this makes sense to me. If you knew the man, you'd say, yep.
And I thought, man, I wish I could see that. And, the thing is, it's like rarely does that happen because you need people to learn the work and you don't want one person doing five things.
Right.
When you're taking jobs from other people. So rarely does that happen. But a situation arose for me where I had the ability to do the same thing in a lodge.
No kidding.
I was like, what? And I went to Barry and he said, do it. Just do it. Don't
just
think
do
about
it, baby.
Just do it. And I said, okay, all right. So I was able to sit in the East for the first part. I did King Solomon the second part. I did the lecture, and then I did the charge.
Wow.
I had one at Barry Hart, and I did it.
Did you do the charge from memory as well?
Of course.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Of course.
Even though you didn't have to, you chose to do it from memory.
When are you going to get that chance again?
Wow.
I'll never get that chance again. It just was the circumstances of that particular degree, that particular lodge, which wasn't mine. I was helping them out. And cancellation. So I was like, I'm going to do it.
Folks, it's not bragging if you can pull it off.
There were mistakes. Okay. Nothing was flawless and nothing I've ever done has been flawless. I still keep trying. But, man, that was such a great experience for me to be able to do that. And the more you do the ritual of this degree, especially the second half, if you're going to perform something, you have to kind of understand it. And
Right.
Where's
yeah.
this person coming from? What were they thinking when they said this, right?
And I think that's the big part of why it's done. We do it the way we do it because you own it. After a while, you freaking are that person. You own it, man.
Yeah. And there are different interpretations that you could do with these words and this person in this situation, and particularly in that second half. And I have a unique take on the third ruffian. There's been degrees that I was in when I first got an opportunity to play the third ruffian. There were like 4 candidates, and I played that guy's role 4 different ways that day because I was just trying to feel out what's right, what feels right to me.
I love it.
And I settled on what felt right to me based on my understanding of the situation and the person and the, what the ritual's trying to teach. And that's how I do it now. But I couldn't have got to that place without many opportunities to play the role. So I highly encourage you. Ritual isn't just for like the nerds and the Dungeons and Dragons crowd or whatever you think. This is a way to teach Freemasonry to you as a master mason. You're teaching the candidate. Yes, I agree. But it's an opportunity for you to learn something. So please take a role. Take any role they give you. And whatever it is, research it. Try to understand it. You'll be a better mason for it. You'll be able to have conversations like we're having from a much better place if you've taken the time to really understand each of the roles and why they're doing what they're doing. And next episode, we're going to get into that. And I can't wait to talk about the many different ways you can interpret that second half, and particularly the ruffians and what they're supposed to teach us.
And if you're listening and you're not a mason or master mason and you're thinking ruffian this and this and that, you don't have any idea what you're talking about, that's good.
Yeah.
Get down to a lodge and talk to somebody and get going on your journey, man, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really, really awesome.
Get initiated and then come on the show so we can talk to you about it.
Yeah, man. Right? That would be awesome. We would love that. We will be starting to do interviews with folks. I don't know. Can we talk about our latest?
Yeah, why not?
Our latest thing. We are definitely
like we keep anything from anyone here.
We are definitely going to be doing interviews at Grand Lodge.
Yes.
Which is officially it's called the Grand Communication. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, Grand Communication. It's in end of May-ish.
Rosen Plaza Hotel.
At the Rosen Plaza Hotel. If you're in the area, I don't know how that works, but if you're in the area, come say hi to us. We have a booth set up. We will be manning that booth, and we will be doing interviews from that booth. We have a very, very honored guest. Are we allowed to say that right now, or do we need confirmation?
Well, we got confirmation today from Most Worshipful Lambert.
Thank you.
That he is amendable to doing something if we can find the time to do it. And I know he's going to be real busy as the outgoing Grandmaster, but
of course.
We don't need much time.
We don't need much time,
15,
sir.
20 minutes
yes,
is
sir.
all we
That'd be great.
need.
That'd be great.
No pressure. We're going to keep it, as light as the person that we're talking to wants to keep it. But
right, sure.
He's said he's good with that. And we've had some other people. I have a good friend who's the state chairman for Masonic leadership training, Bill Katsuit, who today confirmed he would be happy to sit down with us. He's a character. You're going to love him. I guarantee you're going to love him.
It's going to be fun.
He's from New Orleans.
From New Orleans?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's fun, man. And he's such a good Mason. Can't wait to talk to him. And I believe the state chairman for public relations and publicity.
Okay.
John Panicia.
I believe we have a Zoom call with him coming up here in the next couple of days as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. He's agreed to sit down with us, and I'm real curious to talk to him because I don't get much. He's my boss, and I don't get much chance to talk to him.
There you go. It's going to be a great time. We are honored beyond belief to even be in this position. These are people who are making decisions for Masonry in our state. Mm-hmm. It is an absolute lifelong dedication to get where they are. These are great men in Masonry. These are our statesmen, and it's going to be a real honor to sit down with them and ask them a few questions, get to know them a little bit, and you'll get to know them a little bit too. On there. Also on the 29th, April 29th, we'll be at the Hillsborough Lodge. So we're doing a talk on Masonry. Now what? It ought to be a lot of fun.
Now what?
Now what? Now what do we do? And then there's also some great guests there. Well, I don't know if it's sold out. Somebody told me that it might be.
Really?
But
Oh,
go
God,
online.
geez, don't tell me that.
What is the lodge? It's Hillsborough Lodge number. I can't remember. But
I
just
don't
look
know.
up Hillsborough Masonry. Hillsborough.
Actually, what you want to Google is the Southeast Masonic Education Symposium.
There you go. Southeast Masonic Education Symposium.
They have a website and a Facebook page, and
Yep.
all the information's there.
Yeah, and Chris's beautiful pictures on there, looking good, looking sharp in his suit,
I'm
looking
sorry.
great. Some weird old dude next to him. I don't know who that guy is, but
Yeah,
anyways.
we should never show our faces. We should just have to come on with our voices.
Well,
Somebody told me that, I don't know if I said this on the air, but somebody
Do you want
told
me to say it?
that they met Fred and they were shocked because they said, you get this picture in your head of
Right,
people
right.
when you hear their voices, and you have to. Your brain just makes something up that you can look
makes
at in your mind.
connections. That's right.
And he imagined you as a 25-year-old guy.
Right.
So he was
Right.
not at all prepared to see
An
the
old
60-year-old
creepy
guy.
old dude. Right.
No,
I get it.
you're in great shape. You look good. I don't think there's anything. There's not a knock on you, but there's definitely that's 40 years difference. He
Yeah,
thought you were 40
yeah.
years younger based on your voice, and so that must be your spirit, man.
My spirit
must be a
is
25-year-old
See,
at heart.
now, I would never go back to 25. Just so
Yeah, I
everybody
mean,
be clear.
What
25
if you could
was
go back to
not
your
fun for me.
25 body, but keep your 60-year-old mind? Would
I'd
you do that?
probably pull that off. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a fun weekend.
A weekend. Yeah. I wonder if he'd just become a lunatic again.
I would
I'm young.
clearly be-
Screw it.
Right.
Just go back to your old ways.
The deep end wasn't that bad. Let's jump off again.
There were some fun times.
All right, my brother, my partner in podcasting. Any parting thoughts as we get out of here and let our brethren get back to their vocation?
Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. If you're listening to the show and you made it through this episode, we know that you're doing the work out there.
You're a level head.
You're a level head now. And I hope that you shake our hands and come up and meet us at Grand Lodge.
Yeah, please.
We want to meet you.
Absolutely.
Because we just sit here talking to imaginary people. And putting faces to the imaginary people would be really fulfilling to me.
Yeah, me too.
It mean
man.
a lot if you could just come up and shake my hand if you've heard us or you're getting anything out of it at all. Or if you just want to smack us in the face and tell us we're idiots and you disagree
That'd be
with
fine
us.
too.
Skip the slapping part, but definitely come up and tell us that you disagree with us. That's fine. No problems.
All right. Hey, until next time, remember, we're going to continue to go through Master Mason
The
degree.
good stuff's coming.
So the good stuff's coming. Hang in there. So this time next week, we'll put out another one. We're still doing pretty good on the Wednesday morning releases. So
yeah,
look
we haven't
for
missed
us.
one yet.
Yeah. Look for us on Wednesday mornings.
Because we're professionals.
Yeah, right. We're professionals.
You
What
know
he
better.
said. What he said. All right, my friends, my brothers, everyone out there. Until the next time, we will see you then.